rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. Wow, lots of stupidity going on today. Of course, the left went nuts over the Daniel Neely verdict, or not Daniel Neely, sorry, Daniel Perry. I confused the two. Daniel Perry verdict, and I got a little bit of that tonight. Also, too, got an update on one of Trump's cases, court cases. Another moron. And also, too, we've got a couple other things that have popped up. And, yeah. So, anyway. So, there we go. We've got a lot of, just a lot of stuff to talk about. But before I do anything else, I do want to give a point of prayer, I guess is the best way to put it. Amy Jean Viner, she is our resident dog trainer, dog whisperer, and also local American historian. She keeps me on my toes for stuff. But one of her championship dogs is apparently having a bit of a medical issue right now. And so if you could, I would appreciate it if you could just keep Toto is what she calls her. Calls her some other things too, obviously, because that's what they do. I mean, that's what they all do. But anyway, if you'll keep the puppers in the prayers for it. And Amy's also a longtime Whiskey Warrior P1. So yeah, gotta make sure that she hopefully can figure out what the heck is going on with the pup. I know she is very attached to her dogs. She does a lot of wonderful things. They've been featured here on Pet of the Week multiple times. Just fantastic animals. And she does a wonderful job with them. And so I just want to make sure that, you know, she gets what credit where credit is due as far as that goes. And also make sure that, you know, I mean, these are like kids to some of these people. Okay. So anyway, let's go ahead and get things kicked off and started off here. Tonight, the Pledge of Allegiance is going to be led by My News over on Rumble. My News is going to be leading us. So please, if you are of mine, stand, remove your hat if you're wearing one. And if not, either way, place your hand over your heart. And let's follow along with My News in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic of which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I thank you for that submission, My News. If you would like to get your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself doing it in your style, performing it in your style. And when you then take that file, whether it's audio or video, doesn't really matter to me. I mean, I can do what I need to. But take that file and attach it to an email. Send it off to fans, F-A-N-S, at americanperspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at americanperspective.online. Tonight's headline promo is the Institute on the Constitution. The Institute on the Constitution was established in 2004 as a 501c3 nonprofit with one singular mission. And that is to restore the constitutional republic through grassroots education. All courses and materials are developed using primary source documents and taught from the American view. of law and government as defined in the Declaration of Independence in the following 3 key points. 1, there is a God. 2, our rights come from him. And 3, the purpose of civil government is to secure and protect our God-given rights. The IOTC offers the opportunity to educate yourself on our most precious founding document, the Constitution of the United States. They also provide tools to educate your community and get involved with local government. Start by taking their free U.S. Constitution course and go from there. Use my affiliate link, iotc.americanperspective.online, to sign up, and while you are there, take a moment to look through their other course material and information. My affiliate link, once again, is iotc.americanperspective.online to get great content, to learn about our historical founding and support the show in the process. That's iotc.americanperspective.online, or if you just want to purchase this fabulous Saddleback leather-bound U.S. Constitution to support the show, all you have to do is go to constitution.americanperspective.online. Hint, hint, great stocking stuffer. Okay. It's got 1/8 of an inch of Saddleback leather wrapped around pages that are water and tear resistant, and no skimping on the binding here. They did it by stitching it all the way through the leather and the paper. There's no glue on this thing. It has a 100-year warranty against manufacturing and material defects and workmanship, such that you can return it to the manufacturer and they will either fix it or replace it for free. My rumblers love to say it has sexy rounded corners that don't poke you in special regions, wherever you put it in your pocket. It is buddy tested, buddy approved, Billy tasted, Billy approved, and my youngest whiskey warrior has proven that the information contained within will help you to obtain your Civics badge in the Scouts. Head on over to constitution.americanperspective.online and get yours today. Like I said, fantastic stocking stuffer. Hint, hint. Things are coming. You're gonna want to get this soon, because I'm telling you, time is running out. I think we have 15 days left till Christmas. Cutting it short, aren't you? Anyway, head on over to constitution.americanperspective.online and get yours today. Also, don't forget to check out the rest of the Institute on the Constitution's wonderful offerings. And I thank them for allowing me to be an affiliate. All right. So, obviously, the Daniel Penny verdict was just, it happened. It shouldn't have been, but the best outcome came out, even though it did happen. And by that, I mean, it never should have even gotten into trial. They never should have taken him. I mean, all he was doing was essentially self-defense. And he didn't even do anything to the guy other than hold him down. That's it. I mean, ultimately, that's where all of this goes. But the left, of course, and especially the liberal media, is just... They're just horrible, folks. I mean, they're absolutely horrible. I don't even know why anybody even pays attention to these people anymore, to be honest with you. But they go ahead and they do their thing and whatever else. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so the liberal media in particular has a reaction to it, and their reaction, according to Town Hall, was off the rails. So it was a trumped-up charge. No pun. It was a disgrace to the courts and an unnecessary media experience, media circus. Daniel Penny, who is charged with second-degree murder and criminally negligent homicide for placing Jordan Neely in and they're still calling it a chokehold, even though it wasn't a freaking chokehold, damn it. Anyway, it was after Neely threatened passengers on the New York City subway. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. Alvin Bragg once again proved that he's the court's biggest clown, because Penny had to go through 2 rounds of this legal nonsense. Jury obviously deadlocked on the second-degree murder charge, but opted to find him not guilty of negligent homicide, which is perfect, and so on and so forth. Well, several people came out, and they started to have a protest, apparently. And well, here's some of what it sounds like.
Went to this trial. I watched the white people. I watched the non-black.
Whoops, sorry. That was the wrong clip. It's something like this. Here we go. Oh, shoot. Yeah, here we go.
It was reasonable. Excuse me, I didn't ride all 2 hours up here for you to yell over me. It's not reasonable to kill somebody for yelling.
But the jury...
He was yelling on the subway.
The jury
There's no way that they could know his criminal record. They couldn't know if he was mentally ill. They knew he was mentally ill. All they knew is that he was yelling on the subway.
No,
he was 140 pounds soaking wet. Who was he going to kill? He was unarmed. There was no way he was going to kill anybody.
Who said he clearly appeared to be mentally ill. That's what the jurors heard. They heard the witnesses on the subway.
But it doesn't give you a free pass to kill because you see someone that's mentally ill. Okay, hold on. This side of the table. I want
a reasonable person would do.
And the jury...
So... Yeah, so that's an example. That was a CNN clip, a CNN panel. That's just one. And a bunch of people, and Mehdi Hassan, who is a complete moron, by the way, Mehdi Hassan was like, I'm sure the same people outraged about innocent people being killed in broad daylight in New York last week will be equally outraged this week, right? Well, no, Mehdi, because it's 2 separate instances. You had one who was a completely innocent person who was gunned down in broad daylight in a hit, an assassination attempt, okay? And you have the other who was essentially a person who was obviously mentally disturbed, on drugs, threatening to kill people on a subway, on a crowded subway. This is ridiculous. But anyway, enough about that. I mean, well, let's just be honest. They're just going nuts. The left is going nuts because it was, and honestly, this is really where it boils down to. The left is going nuts only because of the fact that it was a white man who happened to be on the defensive side, and it was a black man who was the supposed victim. That's why their racial narratives is exactly why they're going after this kind of scenario. That's why they went after Penny in the first place. I keep wanting to call him Perry. I don't mean to call him Perry. It's Penny. Anyway, so the left, the left just keeps on going and going and going. And he, Daniel Penny reacted in self-defense. He reacted in the defense of others on that train and, got railroaded because of it, all due to the fact of the left. Well, the Associated Press takes the cake on all of this because here's how they reported the Daniel Penny verdict. Breaking. Daniel Penny, the veteran who used a chokehold. First of all, it wasn't a chokehold. He was still breathing. On subway rider Jordan Neely has been acquitted in Neely's death. Yeah. So, again, you have to just avoid these people. The mainstream media, they lie to you. Their whole job is sensationalism. That's all they're after. That's all they want to do is sensationalize things like this, okay? And that he, Daniel Penny used a chokehold. I mean, it wasn't a chokehold. It wasn't. I'm sorry. It wasn't. And Jordan Neely wasn't simply a subway rider either. He's a career criminal threatening to kill passengers on the train. So that's all they do. That's all they do. And inside the text of the story, according to this piece in Town Hall, the AP falsely accuses Penny of vigilantism. Yeah, right. All he was doing was protecting himself and others. Oh, and notice too, thank you, Braden McGroin over on Rumble. You helped me out here. They also don't mention none of the articles. Leftist mainstream media articles talk about the other black man who helped detain Neely with Daniel Penny. Yeah. They don't even bother to mention that guy. Oh, and what's even worse is you have this guy, Jordan Neely's father, Andre Zachary. He abandoned him as a child, placed him in foster care after his mother's murder when he was a teenager, and didn't care about him until this. Yeah. What a mess. I mean, the AP itself, by the way, just so everybody knows, and I already know this, but the AP does this all the time. They're a wired news service. So if you ever look at articles that are written in the paper, they'll have like a little bit of a byline underneath, and they'll explain where they got it from, where they got the story from. And many, many times you'll see from the Associated Press. And so if you kind of wonder, if you've ever wondered as to why, you know, the same article, the same headline seems to hit on all of the major news outlets all at the same time, this is exactly why. The Associated Press acts like they are the arbiter of truth and unbiased media, and yet what do? And they're a newswire service. I mean, hundreds of news outlets get their news from the Associated Press. And the Associated Press, being a leftist mainstream media outlet, has everybody believing that this is actually what happened. That a unconcerned rider of the subway got choked out by an ex-Marine. Yeah. Now do you see why we can't trust these bastards? I mean, seriously. And this is part of the reason why shows like Dan Bongino and, The Daily Wire and, Louder with Crowder and Charlie Kirk, Mark Levin, so many other Newsmax, so many other shows that are out there that are taking over the news and commentary space. It's the independent media that has taken over from the mainstream media because there's no agenda with the independent media. If you're an independent media person, okay, if you're an independent media person, and whether you're a commentator or whatever, your entire livelihood, if you're doing this for your job, depends on being trustworthy, depends on being honest, depends on bringing the truthful nature of the news and commentary to the airwaves. Because let's face it, if we as independent creators, we don't have the backing of a big, large conglomerate, we can't just take a few hits and keep on rolling. We lose our credibility. We lose everything. If I tell you a lie and continually tell you lies, I lose my credibility. I lose my audience. This show no longer exists. I start speaking into the ethosphere, into nothing. And so our integrity in terms of independent media, our integrity is on the line here. We have to be sure that stuff is right. We have to report the truth, the facts, the evidence, because if we don't, we cease to exist. So, there you go. All right. So there was protests that were out there, and oh yeah, Nana also says, and we would pick on you. Yes, yeah, you would. I told you, I've got the best listening audience in the entire internet. They keep me on my toes. They keep me honest and straightforward. And I mean, I can't lie to these people because they'll call me out on it. Of course, never mind the fact that I personally just cannot lie. I can tell you stories, but I can't lie. Anyway, back to this protest. So apparently, as I would mistakenly started on the video, there was a individual at the protest who sort of took exception to what these protesters were dealing with and were talking about. And it kind of, this was last night, because today's Tuesday. So this was Monday night. This is last night. And they had a protest. They were talking about justice for Jordan Neely. Now, you know, this sounds awful familiar. They had a justice for George Floyd. They had a justice for Trayvon Martin. They had a justice for Michael Brown. These all kind of sound familiar, don't they? But anyway, this individual came to the protest and kind of sort of started to read the protesters the riot act.
Went to this trial. I watched the white people. I watched the non-black POCs. All say they were scared of Jordan. But the black man testified that he was not. So we got a problem. So all the white people here, y'all got work to do. Stay the fuck out of black people business. Go in your neighborhood. Do the anti-blackness work in there. I don't need your opinion. I don't need no Marxist bullshit. Okay. I can read black Marxism on my own. Y'all been reading 275 years in English before we was. Right. Go in your own communities and correct this bullshit. And stay out of our fucking business. Thank you. Because the white people on that jury didn't give a fuck about what they heard on the stand. Jordan Neely approached no one. Daniel Penny dropped him where he stood. They made those witnesses draw on a diagram where he got dropped. It was right after he entered that train car. I sat right there and listened to it. So white people, y'all got work to do.
Yeah,
you better deal with.
All right, so that was part of the protest. And anyway, so yeah. So anyway, she kind of went back and forth, I guess, on this, and there were a lot of people that just didn't quite understand, you know, how these people were protesting against this. And again, these people, they just don't understand. And Hawk Newsom is another guy. And I mean, again, this is, keep in mind, this kind of philosophy that, I mean, just listen to her. She is advocating for, just in that clip, she was advocating essentially for separatist ideology. That, you know, white people need to take care of white people and black people need to take care of black people. It's like, wait a minute. So you're arguing for separate but equal, which I thought we got rid of back in 1965. Well, this guy who is, Dan Bongino has taken a real exception to this dude. Real exception. And, you know, again, this kind of stuff is, he's calling out, his name is Hawk Newsom, and he's calling out for violence. Just take a listen.
Just like everybody else has vigilantes, we need some black vigilantes.
That's right.
People want to jump up and choke us and kill us for being loud. How about we do the same when they attempt to oppress us? Right. I'm tired. Tired. I know you're looking for us to be like, oh, go and march. Go and march. No. This weekend, I want you to hold a community event everywhere from the Bronx to Houston to Seattle to Florida. Black people hold community events and talk about what you need.
So again, he's advocating for violence. He yeah. And you sit here and you wonder about these people. Okay. I mean, look, it was plenty obvious by the people on the stand that that he was not acting, meaning Daniel Penny was not acting in an aggressive manner until Jordan Neely started talking about killing somebody on the train. I'm sorry. If you really and truly think that there is racism in America, what are you still doing here? Why don't you get out of here? Go. Just leave. You've got the ability to leave. Go. If you really think that our country is that bad and that racist and everything, go. I don't understand. Why are you sitting around here talking about talking about all the racism and all the horrible stuff that's going on? And how many incidents of racism do we actually have? From my recollection, the only incidences that we've seen have been made up stuff. Jussie Smollett style. Haven't really seen any true instances of racism outside of what these folks are saying and calling for. So I don't know. These people, they just need to understand that this is not, Daniel Penny did not do this because Jordan Neely was black. Daniel Penny did it because Jordan Neely was threatening other people. That's why it was done. And also, too, keep in mind that he did it because the police wouldn't help. They wouldn't keep Jordan Neely off the streets. These people are victims of their own stupidity and their own making. They allow people like Jordan Neely, who, troubled as he was, drugs, mental illness, obviously he needed help. And they let him, the progressive blocking the police situation and the defund the police movements and all of these other things, they've allowed him to keep him here. He was arrested 42 separate times. The police, the justice system was going to do nothing for him. And Daniel Penny had seen this gentleman threaten others and decided to do something. He is not guilty. He never was. Never should have been even on trial for this. And yet, we've got another racially charged situation made up out of nothing, just like everything else that we've seen so far. This. Well, the justice system apparently doesn't care, especially in New York, doesn't care about those such as Jordan Neely, who Jordan Neely, had, like I said, 42 arrests, was in and out of jail. But yet that doesn't matter because apparently Letitia James figures that it's much better to go after Donald Trump. She now is saying that she will not drop the civil fraud case against Trump. even though Trump actually asked to have the case dropped against him. So she is not going to drop the civil fraud case. She's waiting for the appeals court decision. She's arguing that presidents are not immune from civil litigation, which is true. They're not. However, there is a bunch of stuff here that definitely should be going in. I'm going to have to see, or we're going to have to find out what the appeals court comes back with, of course. But he's appealed the ruling, and the judges in the New York appeals court seemed receptive to potentially reversing the judgment altogether, which they should. They should. Because, again, I'm sorry. There's no crime here, okay, with this. There is no crime. If he had truly overvalued his properties and had not paid back his bank loans, yeah, absolutely, go after him. But he paid back the bank loans. The banks who would have potentially been the victims in this particular scenario got all their money back and stated on the stand, hey, we're more than willing to do business with the man again because he paid us back. He paid back the loans. There's this is a literal victimless crime. And yet she continued to try and get it. And of course, Judge Engoron went ahead and made the judgment. So again, we're going to have to see what the appeals court basically comes back with. So James's office also argued that the final judgment does not impact any conduct that Trump may undertake as president. They also said that Trump's inauguration is irrelevant to the 14 other defendants found liable in our case. James's office also said they are now waiting for the decision on Trump's appeal, and said that waiting for that decision on the civil matter does not in any way affect Trump's ability to serve as president. So, but she is not going to back down. She's not going to back down, which is, in my mind, really incredibly kind of stupid, actually, but whatever. I mean, technically she's not wrong. It is a civil matter. And as we've talked about on this program and extensively with regards to the presidential immunity, it didn't mean that he was exonerated out of any kind of civil cases or even criminal cases if it didn't include things like the presidential immunity between, like, his communication between his officers, his cabinet, so on and so forth. So she is right in that case. But I'm hoping that the appeals court will see that, oh my gosh, this was like totally ridiculous in the first place. They should overturn it just on its merits. That's all it is. So, anyway. Well, speaking of potentially getting off of a possible issue, you've heard me talk about the Joe Biden pardon of his son Hunter. Well, the left has been calling for other people to get pardoned as well. That Joe Biden should just use the presidential pardon. Actually, let me rephrase that. Should abuse the presidential pardon power and hit up everybody that Trump would target in the next realm, in the next administration, I should say. Well, here in the American military news, apparently Biden is... And there's a new report out that's claiming that Biden may pardon retired General Mark Milley. Now, if you recall, Mark Milley jumped the chain of command, contacted China, and was talking to China's military leaders without the consent of the commander-in-chief. And yeah, this is just this, according to the Washington Post, White House officials are considering a preemptive pardon for Miley ahead of President-elect Donald Trump's upcoming inauguration, amid concerns that the Trump administration will take action against the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The New York Post reported that Miley faced backlash during Biden's first year at the White House after a report was published that revealed that Miley had engaged in secret phone calls with a top Chinese official prior to the 2020 presidential election between Trump and Biden, and after the storming of the Capitol. Please. It was a riot at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. During a congressional hearing in September of 2021, Miley did admit that he called Chinese General Li Zhusheng and assured him that he would personally warn the U.S. adversary if the United States decided to attack China. That's part of the problem right there. Okay, he jumped the chain of command and said something and negotiated policy outside of the commander-in-chief at the time. Braden McGroin asks the question, how can you be pardoned for something you have never been charged for? I actually covered this. It is entirely possible for that pardon. In fact, the presidential pardon powers have been used in the past to pardon people prior to being charged. So yeah, it is possible. It can be done, and it has been upheld. That stuff has been upheld by the courts over that. So it is possible. So anyway, yeah. So anyway, here he is, Joe Biden, gonna protect people, and Trump also has described Miley on Truth Social as a woke train wreck, claiming that his actions were so egregious that in times gone by, the punishment would have been death. That would have been considered treason. At the time, Trump added a war between China and the United States could have been the result of that treasonous act. So, yeah, anyway. Miley has also been against Trump, calling him fascist to the core and labeling him the most dangerous person to this country in a book that was released by Bob Woodward a while ago. Last week, reports circulated that that Biden was considering the preemptive pardon for not only Miley, but also Dr. Anthony Fauci, who helped create the Wuhan flu, as well as Senator-elect Adam Schiff, as well as former Republican, Wyoming Republican Representative Liz Cheney. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll see if all of that, although if Biden does that, it's probably going to happen at the end, right before Biden leaves office, because it's typically when things like that happen and occur. All right. For those of you who are still under the belief that Joe Biden is like the greatest foreign policy individual, in the world, he's not. He's the worst. But for those of you who believe that, well, Biden not only gave Iran $6 billion, okay, directly, handed it back to him right before October 7th occurred. And if you don't think that wasn't the trigger for Iran to let loose Hamas for that attack, yeah. Anyway, well, here's more proof that he is just the complete and utter moron that everybody should consider him to be. Here in the Daily Fetched, Biden gave Iran $10 billion in sanctions relief just days after Trump's election victory. So, yeah, the Biden-Harris administration just gave Iran $10 billion days after Donald Trump won the 2024 presidential election in November. Yeah. Uh-huh. The move came despite Iran's support for terrorist organizations and ongoing attacks against Israel. If you don't think that Biden is against Israel, I mean, I'm sorry, you're a moron. Really. You're just a complete moron. On November 8th, Secretary of State Antony Blinken determined that it is in the national security interest of the United States to waive mandatory economic sanctions that can bar Iraq from transferring over $10 billion to Iran in electricity import payments. The Biden State Department tweaked the waiver last year to allow Tehran to cover the funds from Iraqi dinars to euros and then hold those euros in a bank accounts based in Oman. Iran's access to the currencies like the euro allows it to easily spend cash in international markets. Under Trump, Iran was forced to keep the cash in an escrow account in Baghdad, making it more difficult to access. According to the Washington Free Beacon, the Biden State Department maintains that Iran is only permitted to use the funds for humanitarian needs. Oh, you're killing me. Yeah, that's all they're going to do. That's all they're going to use it for is medicines and supplies. Sure. That's what that $6 billion right before the October 7th attack by Hamas was supposed to be for. Yeah, right. Hell, we can't even keep track of the money going off to Ukraine. We don't even know what a full audit is of all that money that flowed over to Ukraine. How do you think we're going to track this that's going through separate other accounts that don't even account? I mean, seriously. Seriously. I just can't. Yeah. Republican critics, of course, argue that the money is fungible, meaning that Tehran will have an easier time diverting its dwindling cash reserves to its regional terror proxies, such as Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis, should it have access to the sanctioned cash for other purposes, which is exactly what I said back in the time when the $6 billion was released originally. Sorry, I don't like to have to pat it on the back. But it's, I mean, come on. It operates just like any other budget. If I have money that is set aside in my budget for a specific use, and I all of a sudden get an influx of cash from somewhere else, I don't even care where that other influx of cash comes in. I don't just say, you know what, I'm going to use this cash for something else. No. I look at it and I say, hey, I'm getting, $1,000 extra dollars. That means I can loosen up $1,000 somewhere else. Yeah. That's exactly what's going to happen here. Just like it did back in right before the October 7th attack. These people are morons. We're being led by morons here. Yeah. Also, too, don't forget that the Houthis were delisted as a terrorist group upon taking office in 2021 by none other than Joe Biden. Yeah. I mean, really? Yeah. Folks, I can't wait for January 20th to get here. I really can't. I mean, this is almost as good as Christmas as far as I'm concerned. This administration needs to get the hell out. Oh, and by the way, speaking of 2020 in particular and the Biden win in 2020, not only do we have the fact that now, we have data and numbers of votes that, for an example, Kamala Harris only got around 74 million votes, not the 81 million that freaking Joe Biden got in 2020. Well, now, guess what? We have some news, sir, and I'm calling it circumstantial only because of the fact that it is pretty damn circumstantial that we have this metric by which we noticed that the President of the United States has been picked by what is called the bellwether counties. And the only, since 1984 now, okay, so this is long term here, since 1984, these bellwether counties have chosen the president, with the only exception to that being in 2020, here in the populous times. New evidence of rigging, new data on bellwether counties. Sure looks like it. Here it is right here. You can see it in this image behind me. And if you were on the audio portion of the program, I encourage you to go over to rumble.com and take a look at the video. But here you can take a look. These are what are considered the bellwether counties. There's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 16, 17 of them listed here. And the majority of these counties since 1984 have picked the winner, okay, of this. And here we have 2020. I mean, look at you can look at the chart. It's right here, down here at the bottom. You can look at the chart. Right here at the bottom. 84, 100%. 88, 88%. 92, 94% picked the winner. 96, 100. 2000, 100. 2004, 94%. 2008, 94%. 2012, 100%. 2016, 100%. 2024, 88%. And what happened in 2020? Only one county picked the winner. So it is a 6% accuracy. Seriously, people? If you think that 2020 wasn't, I can't even imagine why or how somebody can't look at this and understanding just a very, very small. All you have to do is understand a little tiny bit about statistical analysis to understand that this 2020 is an anomaly. It's a complete anomaly. 19 of the counties, I miscounted, I guess, but 19 of them voted for the winner between 84 and 2016, and of course now 2024, with a few exceptions here and there, as I showed you. But one of the bellwethers has voted the winning candidate since 1952. That's Valencia County, New Mexico, has been correct since 1952. And it also voted for Trump in the 3 elections, 2 of which he was certified the winner. I mean, this is just... yeah, all of a sudden, between 2016 and 2024, they now all of a sudden are back. Really? Yeah, 2020. I don't think we're ever going to find out what 2020 was all about, but I can guarantee you this much: 2020 is the outlier, folks. It's the one that we need to scrutinize completely for that. And I just can't. Yeah, for anybody who's thinking that 2020 was safe and secure and the freest and fairest election, yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. All right. Well, one last thing about Democrat idiocy. A lot of Democrats jump on the green bandwagon. And they jump on it thinking that they're going to save the planet. Now, we've been talking here on this program. I've shown you evidence. I've shown you proof that human-affected climate change, okay, human-affected climate change is a hoax. Because as long as we do not have countries such as China, Russia, and India wholeheartedly jumping in and making the same changes that we are, we have literally zero chance of making any kind of change to the global environment, the global ecosystem, okay? However, that being said, what a lot of people who are green also do not understand is that going green is going to affect us in many other ways. And that we cannot, in any sense of the word, get rid of our fossil fuels. Now, here's the thing. What a lot of people really don't understand is how dependent we actually are on petroleum products. Case in point, not too long ago, and by that I mean within the last 10 years, there was a group that here in Seattle that decided that they were going to protest a new drilling rig, oil drilling rig, that was running through the Seattle ports on its way to, I believe it was somewhere in Alaska, and they were going to protest it. So they headed on down to the port. Let me describe this for you. They headed on down to the port. They're in their Subarus. No, not Subaru electric cars. They're heading in their gas-powered Subarus with plastic canoes and kayaks, wearing synthetic clothing like nylon, polyester, and high-vis vests that have, plastic and stuff, plastic derivatives on them for high visibility reflectivity. And they're running off down to the port. They go and they park. Some of them might be carpooling. Others aren't. But they go running down to the port and they all jump into those plastic kayaks and canoes and whatever other kinds of things that they have. And they row themselves out into the bay, the Puget Sound, to surround this ship in protest. Yeah. Everything that those people did to protest petroleum, to protest drilling for that oil, is because of the fact that they were wearing things that were made out of petroleum. They were sitting in things that were made out of petroleum. They themselves burned petroleum to get to the location. They used tires, which are based on petroleum. The rubber itself is based on petroleum. I mean, it just... Anyway, well, here in the New York Post, they wrote an article about how most Americans don't understand the risks of renewable energy, and they don't understand how much oil and gas is actually used in other products. Our entire industry, folks, our entire... just about every industry, every product that you can even think of has some sort of petroleum-based product within it. Almost every single one. Okay? So there was a poll that was taken by the American Energy Institute, and they shared it with the New York Post. And in this industry, or in this particular poll, I should say, they found that as many as 57% of U.S. voters were not aware that the United States is at an elevated risk of energy shortfalls, compared to 43% who were well up on the elevated risks of energy shortages. About 2/3 of the U.S. grids have been vulnerable to energy shortfalls in the past, per data from the U.S. Energy Administration Agency. And the Institute itself has noted that regions with higher reliance on renewable energy are at even a higher risk. Folks, all you have to do is look at California. I'm telling you right now, you want to know what our future looks like on green energy? Just watch California. California, did everything that they could to switch over to green energy. In fact, they got it down to where they were going to get rid of the last nuclear power plant that was in their space. And they found that they couldn't shut the damn thing down because they couldn't make enough. Okay. They couldn't make enough energy without that particular power plant on just the green energy sources that they had alone. Well, also too, inside of all this, only 41% of U.S. voters were aware that fossil fuels can be found to, get this, preserve baked goods. 46% were aware that they can be used to formulate medicines like aspirin. And 49% knew that they can help create ammonia for fertilizers. Folks, we are so ingrained in using petroleum across our entire existence. There is no way that we are going to be able to get off petroleum. Ever. And, hey, I get it. You want to conserve energy. You want to, quote unquote, save the planet. Nothing you do, nothing America does right now, outside of what we're already doing, there is nothing further that we can do if we can't get Russia, China, and India on board. The plastics that we have, I've even done stories, I've told you about this before. You sit here and, your green friends who sit there and talk about recycling, and oh my gosh, you have to recycle. Well, recycling hasn't even gotten to a point where the ROI on it is actually worth it. And so a good majority, there's been stories on this, look it up. A good majority of the recycled products that you send to the recycling plants are actually just sent out to landfills because it's not cost efficient or cost effective to actually recycle those things. So even though you feel good about doing all of your separation and, all of that stuff, most of the time it ends up in a landfill. It's just sad that these people don't understand for this. Now, many people, according to the poll, do understand that common fossil fuel uses such as plastic production and concrete. Plastic production, 60% of the people responded knew about that, and 63% knew about concrete as a part of it, and they were widely known about that. The registered voters perceived that the most valuable uses for fossil fuels to be for gas, heating homes, gasoline for running cars, electricity for cooling, concrete, plastics in medical devices, and ammonia used in fertilizers. So, yeah. If the American Energy Institute, which, by the way, does represent clients in the fossil fuel industry, also found that a plurality of the public generally favored green energy sources. Favoring them is great. It's like I've told you on this program before. Favoring green energy sources isn't the problem. The problem is depending upon them as our sole source of anything is absolutely asinine. And that's what the Biden administration and the administration in California keep pushing for. And it's a bad policy, folks. It's bad policy to go and put all your eggs into the green energy basket. All right, folks, speaking of green, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are there and signed in, make sure you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button so that you can get notified every time I go live. Also, too, before you take off, remember to hit those thumbs ups and like buttons across all the platforms, whether it is X, YouTube, Facebook, and, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here for Whiskey Wednesday on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.
The previous broadcast was produced and is owned by Active Eye Media LLC. All rights reserved.